Hello and welcome to the Money Show. I'm Kavita Thapliyal and you're watching the year-end special where today the focus is on mid-cap and small-cap funds and their trajectory in 2024 and also a quick roundup of 2023. And for this, I have with me today Nirav Karkera from Fisdom. Nirav, hi. Welcome to this year-end special on the Money Show today. And before I ask you how do you think mid-cap and small-caps would be faring in 2024, let's just analyze the performance in 2023 where we've seen Nifty small cap going beyond 40%, Nifty mid cap close to 38%, beating Nifty 50. And also if we talk about funds, mid cap and small cap funds, they've given return beyond 35%. A wonderful run up. And after a very long time, all those investors who've been holding on to mid-cap and small-cap funds have seen fantastic returns in their portfolio. Now, the question is, as we are seeing the story of large-cap coming back, and, we also saw a lot of passive large-cap funds being launched in 2023. And, it's also been said that 2024 and 2025 is going to be a year of passive funds and specifically focusing on large-cap category. But then what's going to be the trajectory of mid-cap and small-cap going ahead? Let's just analyze this first, keeping the base of performance 2023. Nirav.
So, Kavita, always a pleasure to be chatting on such interesting topics. So, definitely, one thing that is very clear that large caps are once again gaining a lot of investor favor and investor interest. And this comes on the back of a very stellar run up in the mid and small cap segments. In fact, the run up has been so good that it has pushed many investors to the edge of their seats, worried about what lies ahead, after such a rally. Does it fizzle out from here, or what is it that can keep the rally sustaining going ahead? So a very quick side note on large caps. Definitely the valuations are looking much more better on a relative front, and the opportunities in the large cap segment are looking really good. I'm not quite sure if 2024-25 will actually turn out to be the year of passives per se, but definitely large caps are expected to make a comeback. But at the same time, it is not expected to make a comeback at the cost of small and mid caps. So there are a few good things that have been going in favor of small and mid caps as a segment, and we expect a lot of this to be carried forward into the new year as well. So most of these stories are WIP as we speak. For instance, at the very top, when we start at the very top, uh, mid and small caps have been benefiting a lot from government policies and macro tailwinds, right? So we are seeing a lot of renewed interests, especially into segments like capital goods, textiles, realty, media, and these are segments that that feature listed companies very specifically in the mid and small cap segments, right? So if you want to play these stories which the government policies are also focusing on and macros are in favor of, mm, very good opportunities are available in the mid and small cap space, and for most of these segments are almost absent in the large cap space. So these are the opportunities that are really playing out, and which are helping bottom up stock pickers, and hence you will see a significant rally in small and mid cap funds also, and on
Right.
at a broader level because
Hmm.
of their bottom up approach to this segment.
Let's dissect this more, Nirav, and I also want to focus on. So we've been talking to a lot of experts also throughout the channel, and most of them have to also say that there is still steam left in mid cap and small cap space, but then it's very sector specific. So I want to further on decode this with you because you also seem to be having the same kind of belief now. As per your analysis, Nirav, I want to understand if there is still more momentum left for in mid cap and small cap space. What are the specific sectors that you're looking at and the triggers behind it?
Right. So this is actually in continuation of what I was elaborating, and I'll take it a step further. There is, in fact, a lot of I wouldn't call it momentum because it will be susceptible to intermittent volatility, but an extended uptick definitely in mid and small cap segments, and this is due to a few structural reasons. So one, because of the sectors that are benefiting from macro and policy tailwinds are more present in the mid and small cap segment. For instance, I just briefly mentioned capital goods. We expect the public expenditure agenda to continue in the year going ahead as well. Of course, there is some bit of sensitivity to how does the general election turn out to be, but still, considering it from a pure economic standpoint, we believe that public expenditure for growth will continue to be necessary, and private capex will make a comeback irrespective of what the political scenario is. The economic demand will be for such a comeback, so it will augur really well for capital goods and infrastructure companies. We are looking at segments like textiles to continue to be in favor, as there is more and more focus on the segment on the policy front. We expect the formalization in the infra and realty segment to really augur well for realty as a sector. And as we have already seen, there has been a lot of action and momentum being picked up in micro segments like media, where there is consolidation happening, and there is an entire revamp, re-strategizing happening across the board into the subsector of media, that is. So these are a few opportunities in the mid and small cap space that will continue to play out going ahead. And another very good tailwind to the sustained rally would be the flows. The flows into mid and small caps, especially the retail and HNI flows, is slightly underrated and not as much spoken about. But this is going to be a very important vector going ahead, as more and more flows increase and more allocations happen to the segment. As India as an investor matures and grows up the investment maturity curve, we can expect more and more allocations towards the mid and small cap segment, which will kickstart a virtuous cycle of increased analyst coverage and increased allocation by institutions, and probably at some point in time higher participation by non-retail linked institutions as well. So most of these things will be coming ahead in the year 2024, and all of this will be built on the base that 2023 has been building so far.
So now, since we've been seeing the trajectory only on one end going, which is upward for mid cap and small cap, any little bit of volatility, do you think that will be the time for an investor to consider filtering out their mid cap and small cap allocation in their funds and figure out which has been the best performer and a non-performer for them within their portfolio?
Yes, so like you rightly said, there will be bouts of volatility, and the segments will offer enough and plenty opportunities to reconsider, review, and rebalance mid and small cap allocations. So while we are structurally looking at an uptrend, there will be certain cases where there could be relatively steep drawdowns in the segment. So these are very good times for portfolios to be reviewed and rebalanced. One must recognize the fact that these segments are inherently highly volatile. So it also demands, and it is also imperative that this side of the portfolio be rather actively managed, and stocks and companies be continuously reviewed for the rationale that was there at the start of the investment, right? So if the investment rationale still holds true, or if the target is yet to be met, you continue holding it. But if anything changes around the two, and if there's sufficient reason to believe that another opportunity could be better than the one that you're holding, definitely these bouts of volatility will offer a window to review and rebalance portfolios, especially in the mid and small cap segment.
When you review the entire mid cap and small cap fund space, Nirav, which are those promising funds you think could be performing better than the rest in 2024, or the exposure so far, or the fund mix so far looks really good for 2024?
Right. So, the opportunity was pretty broad-based, so far in this year. So, if you look at the numbers, you look at the performance metrics, in these categories of mid cap and small caps, it is almost across the board that you'll see some very good numbers. In fact, this is one of those times where, when the tide rises, it lifts all boats. However, going ahead, it makes a whole lot of sense to be as selective with picking a mutual fund as it would be while selecting a small cap or mid cap stock. So, at Fisdom Research, we prioritize risk adjusted returns a whole lot, and the ability to maneuver cycles a whole lot, right? So, from this standpoint, in the mid cap segment, we are looking at Edelweiss mid cap, Kotak Emerging Equities and DSP Midcap as very good contenders. And if you would like to be a little bit more aggressive, move towards the small cap and the supposedly micro cap sort of end of the market, funds like Kotak Small Cap, Quant Small Cap, and DSP Small Cap seem to be very good plays. And for these three funds, it would get more aggressive in that order in terms of exposure to smaller companies and apparently micro cap companies that lies beyond Nifty 500 as a range. So these are the set of funds that we look very favorably at for anyone seeking to build a mid cap or small cap exposure through mutual funds.
One last question, and then we will wrap up the discussion. Now, considering the kind of run-up we've seen, also is it also the time for you to rebalance your large, mid, and small cap exposure, whether it is to direct equity or through mutual funds? Well, if you're invested through mutual funds, it's always considered better to be in your investments, especially if it's tied up to a particular financial goal. But time to reevaluate the kind of exposure in mid cap and small cap and go slightly heavier on large cap. Should one be doing that?
Absolutely. So there are two main scenarios where, apart from periodic review, where one must review is when there is any extreme change or turn of events in one's own personal financial life, or when there's a very extreme turn in the markets at large. So now is such a time wherein mid and small caps have arrived at, very elevated levels. The returns have been stellar so far. So we could broadly plot it in one of the extreme ends on the upper side right now. So like I said some time back, that times wherever there are steep declines or steep drawdowns, one must reevaluate. This is another side of the extreme where one must use this as an opportunity to reevaluate and rebalance not just exposures within mid and small caps, but asset allocation at a much more meta level, and category allocation when we talk about large cap, mid caps, and small caps. So now would be a great time to evaluate and rebalance and align it with your larger objectives, your investment profile. So for those having a profile wherein you are chasing a lot more stability and you are looking for reasonably good risk adjusted returns in the near to shorter term, it does make sense to tilt your portfolio slightly in favor of large cap portfolios, especially those large cap portfolios which are committing to capture a lot of value play. That could be in favor for the near to mid term, and for much longer term investors who strategically allocate towards mid and small caps and large cap, now is a great time to rebalance, because by virtue of how the markets have been in the past year, there's a fair chance that the mid and small cap allocation would have already run up. So now is a good time to trim position, review your funds, and ensure that allocations are reallocated. In fact, it is also a good time to plan your tax losses and do some tax loss harvesting, because from a capital gain standpoint also, by March end is when you need to book your capital losses also very strategically if you want to carry it forward. So keep a few of these things in mind, but now is definitely a time to review allocations.
That's the word coming in from Nirav. Thank you so much for being on the show today and helping our viewers with their strategies in mid cap and small cap going ahead. Thank you.